Dan, 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 Kilted Balls.
Balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught you that time.
Hey, welcome back, people. I hope you had a great weekend. This is Ball Buster with the Kilted Balls podcast.
Killed the Dragon Jair. Love you all.
Woo! So glad to have you guys back. Hopefully, you had an amazing weekend. Last time we talked to you was on Thursday, right? My weekend
Yes.
was swamped on Saturday. And then pretty much I spent all Sunday just trying to recover. So I don't know if you've ever had those days where it was just slammed. So
And then
Sunday was
recovering.
resting.
We kind of laid low this weekend. One of Gina's friends was over most of the
Nice.
weekend, so that was fun, just hanging out and kind of chilling.
You know what I'm trying
Which
right now?
what's that?
Do you know what this is? Can you take a guess?
That looks like a silverback rye.
It is not. This is Hennessy.
Hennessy's that dark?
Apparently it's that dark.
Well,
So,
uh you might
oh,
guess what I'm trying today.
yeah, I kind of want to try the Sweet Baby Java. But Amy brought home some Hennessy, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it today. And I thought it would be really sweet. It's not. It's almost like a whiskey.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah, I think I would prefer it like I drink my whiskey, maybe over ice, maybe a
Yeah.
little splash of water, because
Mhm.
it's not easy.
Okay. So not a good whiskey is what you're saying.
It's not bad,
Okay.
but it's like, it's 40%. So
Okay.
and I like my whiskey on ice, but it's kind of chilly today. It's a little chilly up here in the
Hmm.
north. So, did that. So, I don't know what you got to talk about today, but I have an interesting thing that came up today,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
and it hit on some of the topics we've been talking about. And so I was like,
Awesome.
oh, I want to talk about this on the podcast. So
Hmm.
my daughter had a presentation at school the other day. So I have a daughter who's a senior in high school, and they kind of brought her class in. And, they're kind of in this realm as seniors where they want them to like look at colleges, look at careers. They should be picking their colleges right now or picking their trade school and really kind of getting ready for that next step, right?
Hmm.
And so this teacher brought in a family member to talk to the seniors about their career kind of a thing, right?
One of your family members
Not
or
one of
their
mine,
family
one
members?
of their
Okay.
family members. So they brought in a cousin to talk about
Okay.
their gig, and they talked to the seniors. And when I was out with my wife today shopping, she was like, yeah, she was super annoyed at that presentation. I was like, oh, I actually thought it was a okay presentation. Like I really wanted to hear her opinion. She's like, no, because this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, so that's bad. But then I started like talking about it more, and I was like, oh, I understand. So what the person does is they sell, I want to say, life insurance
Hmm.
to unions. So
Okay.
their market is unions, and they give the unions like different tools, different investment life insurance vehicles for their members, and that's what they
Hmm.
do, right? And so he like got into this a few years ago. He graduated college, wanted a way to make more money, looked for like the fastest growing sector with the most profit potential, and picked this, right?
Yeah.
And his parent company is like the company that owns like some of the big sports teams in Texas, right? So he's like, yeah, so I do this, and I make a ton of money. And he goes, how many of you are motivated by money? And like a whole bunch of seniors, he's like, this is the gig for you. Like if you're motivated by money, and like
Hmm.
blah 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 blah. And then his partner comes up and he's like, listen, I had my own like firm doing this, and I joined with him because it's so amazing, it's so awesome, and we help people, and we do this and this and this. And then they're like, and let's bring up this guy who started with us and tell his story. And he gets up and he's like, yeah, so basically I thought I was going to be an NCD1 football player, and I didn't get any offers. And I was like, crap, I need to graduate high school. And he goes, so I busted my butt for like the last 4 months. I'm like, I can tell you why you didn't get any offers, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And he's like, so, I get done with high school and, I'm like, I tried to go to college, but like that just wasn't for me. To which my daughter's like, cause you're a dumbass. Right.
Hmm.
And he's like, so I went in and I'm doing this insurance with them. And, my first, year I made like 106,000 and I thought that was good. And so then I kept going and then I made this. And, last year I made 350,000 and I'm on pace to make 500,000 this year. And he goes,
Hmm.
and I'm doing this without college and blah, blah, blah. And, they have big pictures of him driving his like super souped up car. And he's like in this fancy looking all GQ and he's like
Hmm.
buff. And the kids kind of tore him apart, not really, but they're like, do you have any questions? And they're like, why are you here talking to us? Like
Yeah.
that was one of the kids'
Hmm.
questions. Like, what like the kiddos in her school are not dumb kids, right?
Yeah.
And they're not suckers for the most part. So they're
Hmm.
like, why are you talking to us? Like, okay, yeah, but why high schoolers? Like, why would you be pitching to us? And they're like, well,
Yeah.
because it's really demanding and people who have families can't do the traveling. They can't work 6 days a week, crazy hours. But high
Hmm.
schoolers can, and it doesn't require training. And you've got to be a go-getter and you've got to attack and, blah, blah, blah. And it's 100% commission and it's so awesome. And so what my wife was bitter about, like my daughter was bitter because she's like, they're telling these kids like this is an option. I'm like, that's the point, is they're saying there's other things out there besides college,
Yes.
besides that, which you and I have talked about. Like,
Hmm.
you don't have to do college. There's so many things. And they were like, that's one of the things they said. They're like, we had no idea this existed when we were in high school.
Hmm.
We want you to know this is a thing and that you can make awesome, amazing money doing this thing. And if you're money
Hmm.
motivated, this might be the thing for you. But my daughter was like, yeah, poo poo that. And my wife was like, the impression I got from our daughter was it's like, oh, bam, 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 and you make, $500,000.
Hmm.
And she's like, and it's not that easy. Like they made
Yeah.
it sound like you just do this and it's easy. And I'm like, well, they did. But they also, like one person said, like, what's your normal work day? Like you're making all this money. What's your
Hmm.
normal work day? And I'm like, do you want to know what they said? And she's like, yeah. And I go, they said they go in on a Monday and they get a list of all the people they're supposed to call.
Hmm.
And they sit down and they call people all day Monday, making appointments for Tuesday and Wednesday. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, they go meet with all these union members, which
Hmm.
has to be after work. So they
Hmm.
normally work from about 3 to 9 or 10 o'clock at night, making all these sales. Tuesday,
Hmm.
Wednesday, then they go back to the office on Thursday, call everybody who they gave them, and then they set up appointments for Friday and Saturday, and they meet with all of those people Friday and Saturday,
Yeah.
take Sunday off and go Monday. And I go, so their work schedule is a 6-day week, minimum 8 hours a day.
Hmm.
I go, they're busting their ass. And she's like, right, but they made it sound like, oh, you just go do this and you make it. And I go, yeah. I go, you definitely got that feel. But they also did say it's a lot of work and it's 100%
Hmm.
commission. And we
Yeah.
love that and blah, blah, blah. And I go, and you do make money when you do stuff like that. But it's hard ass work. And that's why they
Hmm.
want high schoolers, because it's too much work for like a 40-year-old guy to go do. Right.
Yeah.
Like, we're not at that point in our life. And I go,
Hmm.
though, I told her, I go, I'm interested in it because I think I could sell that to my union members as a great thing and educate them on the power of different types of life insurance that people don't know about.
Yeah.
I go, so that would intrigue me. But it came back to exactly what we're talking about. You don't make easy money.
Even even the our trading strategy, like it has not been easy. It's been a lot of work and a lot of mistakes, and it falls under the you need money to make money.
It definitely falls under the you need money to make money. So our trading strategy, you could start our trading strategy with a low amount of money. But you've got to be willing to lose all of that money.
Yes, yes, exactly. So you're exactly right. It's either that or you got to work your butt off.
or you've got to work your
Yep.
butt off.
Like early with the sheets, I used to leave home in May and I'd get home in end of November.
Right. And if your classmates saw you now, your peers from high school, and
Mhm.
you were like, hey, here's what I made 5 years ago. They'd be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. What do you do? Well, I work, 2 or 3 days a week. And they'll be like, oh, you're like living the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're missing the 10 years of shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is one of the things that I love about Gary Vee. When you hear Gary Vee talk, like on his podcast or when he's a speaker, one of the things he preaches, you've got to eat shit for years before you get to be a big dog. There is no shortcut up. And then people are like, well, you had your dad's multi-million company. And he's like, no, I built that company. I ate shit building that company for years. I'm the one who made it $1 million company.
Yeah, going from selling sports cards and making $1,000 a weekend or whatever to making $2 an hour. I think he said his 14th birthday.
Yeah,
he had to go to the basement scooping ice. $2 an hour.
Right.
Couldn't sell cards anymore.
Well, and that's what she was mad about. Is she's like, they're telling them that it's easy, and I'm like, they didn't tell them it was easy. They just heard that it was easy. And I go, not everybody stayed to ask questions, and the kids figured it was like some kind of a weird thing, and insurance sales is like the butt of all jokes. But they ain't wrong.
With any sales job, if you're to get in there and you make calls for 8 hours a day, you're going to make six figures.
And that's what I was saying.
Any sales,
it doesn't matter the gig.
I could do that. If I called companies just to sell my specialty sheets to wholesale.
Yes,
that's an extra $100,000 a year.
Yes,
if I spent 8 hours a day making calls.
And that's the thing people don't understand is you can make six figures. It takes work to make six figures. It takes work. It's not this easy thing where boom, you get six figures. Those guys who are on that stage, who are getting these accolades and different things, and they're like some of the biggest growing, they're busting their ass and they make it seem good. But that guy has a really nice car because he's on the road 7 days a week. If I was on the road 7 days a week, I'd have a car that I love to be into because I'm on the road 7 days a week. You better love your freaking car. Right? I'm like, you gotta, and that's,
I mean, I can see both sides of it. It's good. It's good to learn that because really they weren't talking to your daughter.
They were,
and I can't remember his name. I've read a few of his books, but he's a sales guy now. He teaches and stuff, but it's not necessarily the best and brightest who are going into sales.
No, and the best and brightest could.
And I'm fine with that.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's kind of, it's one of the things I've thought about my girls for a long time. And I don't know if I've had this conversation with them before, but I think it a lot, right? I think about it with, your guy, Tristan, right? Who's doing his stuff. And I think about it with my kiddos. Every decision you kind of make when you're going through high school, right? Like we talk about, you can do anything. Anything will get you to where you want to go. It doesn't matter what you do. So you've got the world to choose from. But every decision you make where you exit something, you have reduced the choices you get.
Yeah.
Right? So like my senior daughter has gone the route of, I am going to do everything. Right? And she does everything. Okay. Well, what that means now, and I was laughing at her about this when she started her college hunt. She's like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, how do I narrow this down? And I'm like, you are one of the few people who has every option available to them. You didn't get rid of any option all the way through. You didn't fail a math class, which removed all of the math things from you. You didn't fail English to remove all of the English. You didn't suck at tennis to remove that option. You didn't suck at music to remove that option. you dedicated yourself to everything. Now everything's an option, which is super awesome. And yes, terrifying at the same time. But I look at other people, right? Like, and I've had this one, I'm like, you got to realize when you're going through high school, to like one of my other daughters, every time you decide not to do homework, you are eliminating that thing from your choices. So my senior daughter can choose anything she wants. She has interviewed with business schools. She's interviewed with music schools. She's interviewed with wrestling teams. She has interviewed with all these different things because she can do all of those things. Like she goes, I floored the business person. They're like, why? We shouldn't be talking to you. You should be in science and math. And she's like, yeah, I should be. And they're like, well, do you have any like business aptitude? She's like, I worked in sales for like 3 years when I was like in middle school, freshman and sophomore. They're like, what?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They're like, what kind of sales? And she's like, I did this. I ran my own booth here and here. They're like, you ran your own booth? Yep. Like, I did my own. I hired my own employees. Right? Like they're like, you are a business person. And she's like, yes. If I want to be a business person, I can do that. So, but like if you're like, I have a kiddo right now who's failing, I don't know what class he's failing. Let's say math. Okay, he just eliminated everything with that. Like he's made a bad choice. Not that he has to do math, he just eliminated those options, right? And like I have another kiddo who's like, yeah, I'm not going to college. I'm like, you're right. He goes, well, because I don't want to. I go, no, it's not because you don't want to. It's because you eliminated that choice. You no longer get to have the opportunity of going to college. You've removed that from the table. You could go maybe to a community college. And that's not saying you can't take a different route, people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if he wanted to go that route, it's going to be a bitch.
Yes.
So if you've got to choose two routes that suck, choose the route that sales and you're going to make 6 figures suck, not the route I'm going to go to college for 6 years and it's going to suck. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Unless you want a vacation, like Gary says. If the kid wants a vacation, it's your chance to take a vacation.
It's your chance.
For a year, as long as you can make it through.
As long as you can get
it up to 5,
But and that's it, right? Like what opportunities are you leaving yourself? But understand it doesn't matter the path. Like I think that when people are like, well, those doctors, they make so much money. Right. They might make a lot of money depending on their field, but understand they ate shit for 8 years. Like people forget that part. Like that doctor you're going to, the surgeon you're going to, right? Who's making a ton of money, had to go through a 4-year degree program and study their butt off, work incredibly hard, to go to 4 years of medical school, to then go through 4 years of residency plus the surgeon stuff.
From the day I met Wilbur, those next 12 years, he did not have nearly as much fun as I did.
He did not.
But he's a doctor now.
Right. And that's my point. No matter what you choose, there is no easy route.
Yeah.
There is no easy route. And it's funny
because when he was starting out as a doctor, that's when I was eating my shit. You know, approximately like that same idea.
Well, and I remember one of our buddies growing up, and you know, you might know who I'm talking about here, but a good buddy had a great laugh. He didn't go to college. He didn't go to community college. He jumped right into the trades field, right? And I still remember seeing him like our first and second year back. He's like, yeah, I just bought a car. Yeah, I just bought a boat. Yeah, I just bought this. And I'm like, how are you doing that? Well, because I'm working full time. I'm making a ton of money.
Yeah.
He was loving life. He's still making the same money.
Yeah.
Right?
Because when you do that, you can work your way up the ranks. But then if you're going to take that next step, you have to be the business owner where you're taking those chances and you're hiring the employees and you're money out.
Working your butt off and the stress.
And you're working the butt off.
And so we put in extra work to get to where we are. He did not put in the extra work. And if he wanted to, he'd have to do it here. And you were frozen there, and it was hilarious because I'm like, what is he doing with his face? You're frozen again.
Yeah. You're frozen a little bit. It might be. Oh, man. I was saying, oh, you know what? Because Tristan's home. I bet you he's in there watching videos and stuff.
He's
Taking the extra internets.
Yep, he's taking your bandwidth. So yeah, that's my thought today, right? That it doesn't matter which field, and if you talk to people legit, they had to do hard work, right? And I see that a lot right now in my Instagram feed. It pops up where it's like, the one that popped up today. My wife and I made a goal of being debt free within 10 years. We did it in a year. Here's how we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And their plan was great, right? Like what they did was great. But I'm looking at it going, you busted your ass to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't just do that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's making a lot of choices. You're
You-
not eating out, you're cooking,
You and your wife for
you're watching
5
everything.
years, they started their talk, their first slide was, we bought an income property.
Okay.
Okay. Where did you get to that? It
Yeah.
wasn't an income property like, hey, I bought a duplex and I lived in one side so I could get an FHA loan with no money down. It was, I bought an income property instantly to rent out as an Airbnb in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm like,
that can happen.
okay, so what did you do to get there?
Mm-hmm.
What did you and your wife have to go through to be able to afford a property that is good enough to use as an Airbnb in Nashville?
A second property in which you could put the down payment for a non-owner occupied.
And deal with all of that stuff, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, it was making good money. So within a few months, we bought our second one in Nashville. And then we were like, oh, and we refinanced them and bought a third. And then we were able to buy a fourth. And then they were making $13,000 a month. That wasn't freaking overnight. And we quit our day jobs. Yeah, as you should, because you're having to use your time doing this.
Yeah, because if you have 4 income properties, you got stuff to take care of.
Yeah, stuff to take care of, especially if they're Airbnbs, right? And you can hire companies, all that. The point being, there was a part before this that they're leaving out of the equation, which is, we ate shit for 5 years. We didn't go out to eat. We didn't have fun. We had to do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Right? Which, again, it depends where your success level is. You don't have to be money motivated, right?
Exactly.
I'm not money motivated, right? We know that. I would love lots and lots of money. I think that would be exceptional to have lots of money. If I stayed at the rate I am right now, I would be super happy my entire life, right? Like I tell people all the time.
Yeah. I was more money motivated when I was younger. I am not anymore. I'm more happiness motivated, which I've decided a few years back.
That's
before COVID. I decided that before COVID, which was nice.
Yes. Well, and it's important. I had a kid the other day who said something about money, and I'm like, yeah, well, I don't do this gig for money. Right. And we've talked about that a lot. I don't do this gig for money. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Like that? Why else would you do it? I'm like, are you kidding? Because of this right here, that we're talking, we're hanging out, doing this. I go, you know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this? I'd be on my computer playing a game, or I'd be watching TV, or I'd be picking my nose. I go, I'm having a freaking great time. And yeah, are there times where I don't want to wake up in the morning? Yeah. But that's what makes sleeping in so good on like a Sunday, because the other days I have to. If I slept in all the time, it would not be that cool because I'm sleeping in all the time, right? It's like a kid today was like, oh my gosh, my chest hurts so bad. I'm like, that is awesome. And another kid's like, why is that a good thing? I'm like, well, because then you know when it doesn't hurt.
I think about that when my nose is stuffy, and I'm like waking up in the middle of the night and blowing my nose and stuff and just not sleeping well. I think this is, I agree. I'm just like, this is great, because when it's normal, it's like you realize how amazing it is.
I go, it gives you a comparison. If it's always good, there's no comparison to the good. And some of you out there listening are saying, no, I wish it was always good. And I get that. But sometimes I like spicy food and sometimes I like sweet food. And I want the difficulty in life helps add goodness to your life, right? And I think you need those kind of in little measures. I'm not saying you should suffer all the time. I'm saying it adds the proper contrast so you can tell good from bad. right?
Mhm.
It just seems like a
And
thing.
talk about suffering. I did not want to turn on the cold water this morning. But you know what? I did.
Was it ouchy? It seems ouchy
Yeah,
to
it
me.
just wasn't fun.
No, no, that's
But
not
I'm
fun at
really
all.
overall like I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad I started doing it again. I'm a little sad I stopped, but there was, stuff was going on and life was different.
I
I was
actually
looking at it
think
differently.
it's easier the way you're doing it than the way I thought you were supposed to do it.
Where the whole shower was just cold.
No, I thought you took a normal shower and then for the last 2 minutes you like put it on freezing.
Oh, you think
Like,
it is easier to start cold because then you warm it
right.
up.
And I always relate it back to, and I don't know, I think you did this, but there were times like in track practice where we'd go in and we'd take a shower and then we'd crank it to cold and we'd cool down using that kind of cold shower. And
Yeah.
that's not as bad because your body's already hot.
hmm I have to do that like in the summertime if I'm hot and I'm like like if we're going out to dinner and I need a shower,
Yes,
like you have to cool your body down.
you have to. You got to get that core body temperature down or you're going to be sweating the whole time. To
Exactly.
me,
You're
I
great at
think that
that.
way.
hmm
So I'm like, oh yeah. But like right now, when it's like freezing outside, I'm like,
Yeah.
if I
It's
wanted to be
cold
cold, I'd
outside.
just go outside. Right. That's why I
You
threw
could
on my
do that.
sweatshirt.
Go jump in the snowdrift and
I
then
can
roll
go,
around and then run back into the hot shower. Turn the
yes,
shower on
yes.
before you jump out there.
Before you go out there. I know today it was a
Yeah.
little cold when I got in. I was like, oh, and then I was like, man, it sucked to be Jer right now.
No, I almost didn't, but I was like, nope, I'm just gonna do this every day.
Mm-hmm.
Make those choices. Well, actually, it's funny because I had another thing come up today. My old business partner, I was trying to get in touch, and I just had a few questions, and I'm like, you know what? I just need to knock out a bunch of these questions so I don't have to ask anymore.
Yeah.
So I had a few questions I wanted to ask. So I texted earlier this week, like, hey, just when you have like 15 minutes, let me know. And she called yesterday. We were walking out the door, and I was like, oh, just she's like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. I'll text you and let you know what time. So I was like, okay, cool. And I hadn't heard
Perfect.
from her. And so we were getting ready to walk out the door again, and the phone is ringing, and I was just like, you know what? I just need to take care of this right now. Just get it done so I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about it. So I answered
Right.
the phone. I came upstairs. I did everything. So, it wasn't happening like right now or tomorrow at some other time. So
Yes.
it was funny. I was thinking about that. I was like, yep, I think we talk about this.
We talk about this. And that's the thing
Prime
is like
example.
now that we're talking about a lot of these things all the time, like I keep seeing them and I'm like, bam, that's what we talked about.
hmm
Bam. Like my wife complaining about that. I'm like, you're talking about the exact right thing. Like that's exactly what we're talking about. Right.
hmm
I'm like, this message, people, this is real. Like honestly, it's real. Things you
hmm
can live your life by. Do the hard things. Don't be afraid of them and understand that to be successful in whatever you're talking about, you've got to work, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be work. And if you're doing something, my favorite is High School Sweethearts, right? Oh no, I love him. It's not hard at all. That's why it's the best. No, that's a sure sign that things are effed up. There should
hmm
be hard parts because if it's not hard, that means you two aren't working to make it the best it should be. Like there should be parts you have to work on.
In relationships, see, yeah, you need a little bit of that,
You do. You
I think.
I think you have to because if you're not doing that, then you're only at the surface,
hmm
right? Which is fine. Oh my gosh, so fine if you're in high school. You shouldn't have a deep, deep, deep relationship, right?
hmm
Sorry for those of
Yeah.
you who are with your high school sweetheart. Talking to you, Jennifer Palmerton Markle. Hitting 26 years anniversary. High five to you. I'm sure Jennifer doesn't listen to this.
Congratulations, you guys.
Yeah, it's her 26th anniversary, I think,
Oh
today.
man.
Right? Married her high school sweetheart. They are loving life. I
Yep.
guarantee you they had rough patches. Guarantee, right? Because
hmm
good relationships, you should work hard
hmm
for.
Oh, I was a grump this morning.
Yeah.
So Gina has our good blanket is getting washed. So I got one of those, and I'm not getting paid for anything, but what is a big blanket company? It's a
Okay.
10 by 10 blanket. It's
Nice.
amazing. It's awesome.
You
So
love
that's
it.
usually what we have. We both have plenty. It's thick enough to where we're okay. But
Mhm.
it got washed and it didn't get on the bed last night. So I have like this lighter quilt kind of blanket, and she's got like this super heavy blanket. So I have another blanket on top of me because I get cold. I
Yes.
mean, anyone who
Yes.
knows me. So I wake up in the middle of the night. I was freezing. The fan was on 1,000. It was easily like I thought the windows were open and there was a blizzard outside. So I get up and I had to go to the bathroom, of course, because I was that cold. And I came back in and my top blanket is next to Morgan instead of on me. So I climb in, I put my little blanket on, and I was just so cold still. And I was like, Gina was awake, and I'm like, so and then one of the fish tanks were making lots of noise, so I had to go fix that. I'm like messing with it. I have no idea what time it was. I was cold and ornery. Then I had
That
to
is
go grab
great.
another blanket. I threw this like extra heavy blanket on, and I climb under there. I get back to sleep.
Yeah. That's real life right there, baby.
That's real life. And this morning I was like, you are not allowed to turn on the fan if you have the heaviest blanket in the house.
I think that's a good rule. I think that's a good rule.
Mhm.
Yep.
It was
Mine
fun.
last night was I don't even understand how this conversation went. Like, I just know I got ticked about the conversation. Sorry, people were totally diverging to other things.
This
But
is real life.
it's real life. Is so we're in bed and Cal's in bed, we're reading him a story right over, and he passes out like he's supposed to. And I'm like, so it sucks when he's in our bed, right? Like,
Mhm.
I go, this just isn't good. Like he's kicking me all night. I can't like snuggle, like nothing. I'm like, this is just dumb. And she was like, yeah, like most nights, like I don't know, like tonight, I put him to bed and then I just crash and fall asleep and I forget to move him. And I'm like, right. And she goes, but I'll probably I'm gonna move him tonight. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and I gotta go pee. I'm like, yeah.
So like, go move on.
So 3 in the morning, he's kicking my ass. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, you said you're gonna move him. You said he needed to be moved. You said it was because you're tired. And now I'm
Didn't she
getting my
pee?
ass kicked by a 5-year-old.
That's hilarious.
Like, gosh darn it. She told me today she did wake up to pee about 2 o'clock and had trouble falling back to sleep. I'm like, oh, probably because a
Serves her
5-year-old is
right.
kicking your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because I woke up at 3 with a 5-year-old kicking my ass. So kind of makes
That's
sense.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay then. But yeah, as I was falling asleep, I was like, "Arr." And some of you out there right now are saying, well, why didn't you get up and move it? Which is a great question.
Keep your nose on your face, people.
Yeah. You worry about you. You worry about you, people. You don't worry about me.
My business, you mind yours.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, no, this turned out to be an awesome episode.
Yeah. And honestly, people, I hope you are enjoying this. I'm really enjoying these episodes, especially these more recent ones. I like our business chatter. I'm and sharing with you guys some of our views and philosophies. I hope you guys are too. And I love your shirt. Your Star Wars shirt rocks.
Thank you.
Mhm. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, but anyway, peeps, we're gonna log off. Maybe you'll hear from us again this week. We'll see how life treats us. But until then, this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kill the Dragon Jer, love you all.